let's start this day out by checking the small court. Today there's basketball being played. By the way, I just checked the big stadium, and there's a football game going on right now. And since we already covered the football player, we're not going to go back there. Instead, I'm just going to check out the small court and the basketball player that's right here. And after that, I'll be done. Now, something that I asked in the last video about, how football terms are translated in other languages. Well, as it turns out, just about every language out there uses the English terms. Straight up, no translation, no nothing, to the notable exception of Canadian French. And that's only Canadian French, because European French, as far as I know, uses the English terms as well. So, yeah, French Canadians are special. They're the only people in the entire world to not use the English terms in American football, or Canadian football for that matter. If you want to know the differences between the two, just look it up. I'm not about to explain everything to you. And yeah, I can't imagine a lot of you are saying, what? There's Canadian football? Yes, there is. Once again, look it up if you want to see the differences between American football and Canadian football. They're basically the same game, but with some different rules, like 3 downs instead of 4, etc., etc. So yeah, there's only one player for basketball, as is the case for all other sports at this point of the game. We're going to be checking them out all eventually. But for now, since we can't do anything about it quite yet, we are going to head over to routes 5 and 16 instead. Let's head over to route 16 first. There's some training we can do over there. Lots of trainers there. So we're going to take care of that. And, we're going to get something. The Macho Brace, which doubles your EV intake, but decreases your speed stat by half. And these days, it's pretty much obsoleted by the power items, but nonetheless, if you want to increase EV input in all stats, then the Macho Brace may be the better choice. It all depends on what you want to do with it, I guess. So, we are now heading into Route 16. Routes 5 and 16 have pretty much the same Pokemon there, so I'm just going to talk a bit about what Pokemon you can find in this route. Remember a few parts ago I asked, with Pokemon as cool as Coffagrigus and stuff, how could there still be Genwunners around? The answer... just look at Pokemon like Trubbish and Garbodor. This is the reason why there are still people who think the first generation was the best. Because they are going to judge an entire generation based on a few rotten apples like these two. And, quite frankly, I honestly do not like them. I mean, they're still a slight step up from Grimer and Muck, which were piles of sludge, but still, they're still among the most unappealing Pokemon of all time, visually speaking. And not only because they're garbage, but enough about that. Would you ever want to use one? Is the question. The answer is no, not really. It's much more frail than Mach. It's weaker than Mach. It's faster than Mach, but not fast enough to actually make a difference. And their roles are pretty different. Mach is supposed to be a bulky attacker, while Garbodor is supposed to be more of a support Pokemon, since it can learn moves like Spikes and Toxic Spikes, because let's face it, its offensive move pool won't win it any awards at all. So, yeah, this is basically a support Pokemon that has average defenses and pretty subpar speed. So, yeah, you don't want to use it. Avoid it like it's Chick-fil-A and never look back. Oh, and by the way, I'm sending Lilligant out there. Something I did off-screen was that I gave it 3 PP ups for Giga Drain, so I could use it a bit more liberally instead of being bound to the 10 PP limit. 16 is a lot higher, and yeah, it's going to allow me to be a lot more liberal in spamming Giga Drain, especially since I go back for healing after just about every part. But yeah, Next up, we have Chill Army. Why am I saying the Japanese names all of a sudden? It's Cinccino, not Chill Army, sorry. But yeah, it evolves into Cinccino, and the intent with that Pokemon, I guess, was to be sort of an Ambipom on steroids. Unfortunately, it falls a little bit short because Cinccino can do one thing and one thing only. Abuse Technician and now Skill Link, which is a bit better if you do the math. But yeah, it's meant to abuse Skill Link with moves like Tail Slap and the Rock Blast and Bullet Seed, and quite frankly, I sort of like it. It's one of those underpowered Pokemon that I really wouldn't recommend for serious use, but if you want to just mess around and have fun, then Cinccino is... well, it's weaker than Ambipom because Ambipom is a lot more versatile, even though it doesn't have quite the same sub-breaking opportunities. But yeah, these two are rather underpowered Pokemon that I really enjoy. You can use them if you want to mess around for fun, though if you want to use them for anything serious at all, Ambipom is definitely better because it's just a lot more versatile. Cinccino can do one thing and one thing only, and that's abuse Skill Link with all those moves, which means you don't really want to put up a substitute in its face. But then again, you're not going to be frightened enough by a Cinccino to put up a substitute to begin with, unless you're playing in really, really low tiers. Next up, our next Pokemon is one that is going to become a lot more useful next Thursday. I'm talking about Gothitelle, which is exclusive to Pokemon Black. Gothitelle is a psychic type. It's meant to be somewhat bulky, but it's not as bulky as Musharna or Reuniclus. Its special attack is decent, but it's not going to give it any awards either. Its speed is subpar, I would have to say. It's pretty slow. It's faster than Reuniclus, but if you're going to use one of the two, Shadow Tag notwithstanding, I'm gonna get to Shadow Tag in just a moment, but other than Shadow Tag, if you're going to use a bulky Psychic type, might as well go all the way, take the really bulky one with Magic Guard and great special attack, and say, screw speed, unless you want to use Trick Room, that's an option, and use Reuniclus instead. Now, it does get Shadow Tag next Thursday, so if you go on Pokemon Online or Pokemon Showdown and on Thursday and you start seeing Gothitelle everywhere, well, don't be surprised. There's probably going to be a phase of experimentation where everyone's going to try and find the best movesets for it, because it's the first time that we get a Shadow Tag Pokemon that's not gimmicky like Wobbuffet, which was limited by Counter and Mirror Coat and using Encore and stuff like that. It can actually straight up attack. As far as we know, Shadow Tag Chandelure is still unavailable, and I wouldn't be surprised if it remained that way until the end of this generation, even though they did make Imposter Ditto and stuff available in Black and White 2. And Excadrill hit level 33, so I am just going to switch leads real quick. I'm going to send Sigilif in there. But yeah, Gothitelle is going to be one of those Pokemon that's entirely defined by its ability, and it's a damn good ability to boot, so if you need a foolproof trapper, you probably can't get any better than Gothitelle, especially since Trap Passing does not work anymore this generation, so Umbreon pretty much found itself out of a job. Now, Gothitelle's counterpart, which is exclusive to Pokemon White, is the Solosis line, which eventually ends up as a Reuniclus. Reuniclus is a really good Pokemon. It's one of the best Psychic types in the game, if you ask me. It's amazingly bulky, it's got the Magic Guard, and it also has quite a bit of special attack. Its only downfall is its very low speed, which can be turned around with Trick Room, or you could use Calm Mind in order to increase your special stats even further. both of these sets are pretty fearsome, but if you remember in very early Generation 5, back when Swift Swimmers were dominating absolutely everything, that was before the combo ban, Reuniclus was considered for a ban as well. The reason is that it was the only Pokemon that could be able to withstand the onslaught of Swift Swimmers by just turning their own ability against them and use Trick Room to be faster than all of them for a few turns. And on top of that, it learned Thunder to further abuse Rain as well. And speaking of which, Reuniclus is one of those really odd Pokemon that cannot learn Thunderbolt but can learn Thunder. In fact, I think it might be the only line in the entire game that can learn Thunder but not Thunderbolt. There's probably another one that I'm missing. Feel free to tell me in the comments if this video is recent enough. If it's been like 2 weeks, let alone 2 years, don't even bother. Someone's gonna have beaten you to the punch. But yeah. What happened afterwards was that the combo ban happened, and Reuniclus was suddenly a lot less broken because its main niche was simply gone. Nonetheless, it remains an amazing psychic Pokemon, especially with Magic Guard, though I guess it became a little bit less hot when Magic Guard Alakazam came around. Alakazam is, of course, that huge glass cannon with no defense whatsoever. Both are pretty decent choices, but I personally prefer Reuniclus because Magic Guard just fits a defensive Pokemon like Reuniclus a lot better. So, we are just about done with Route 16. That was quick, and Marvelous Bridge is being checked. Marvelous Bridge is one of those post-game areas that we cannot access until the post-game, so these guys are going to be there until we finish the main game. There's going to be no way through otherwise. So, instead, there's one sub-area located in Route 16, which is the Lostlorn Forest, which is where we're going to be heading into right now. Lostlorn Forest is a pretty forgettable area overall, unless you have the shiny legendary dog events from the movie 13 promotions. In that case, you can pick up a free Zoroark in there. Now, Zorua and Zoroark, they simply cannot be found in the wild in this game. The movie promotions are the only ways to get one, unless you can get someone to breed you a Zorua, but thankfully it's breedable. But otherwise, you're shit out of luck if you didn't get those promotions. And I think, did the Celebi event even make it to North America? I think it did, but it was only as a live event, not Wi-Fi like the legendary dogs. But nonetheless, yeah, Zorua and Zoroark, very rare Pokemon that cannot be found in the wild. They can't be found in the wild in Black and White 2 either, but they are given to you as a gift by Rude, so at least they're easier to attain if you didn't get those promotions. Now, okay, I think the hidden item is up there, and we can't get up there until we have Waterfall, so this is going to have to wait, I'm afraid. Anyway, there's this little trailer in there, and inside that trailer is a woman, which is actually a Zoroark in disguise. And the form that this Zoroark is going to assume as an illusion depends on the legendary dog that you bring here. If you bring Raikou, she's going to assume the form of Entei. It's going to be a Suicune if you bring Entei, and if you bring a Suicune, it's going to be a Raikou, so it's going to be the one that's super effective against your own, unless you have a Raikou, because there's no legendary dog that's super effective against Raikou. Anyway, this lady here, Zoroark in disguise, but since we don't have those promotion legendary dogs, we can't do shit about it. So we're pretty much done with Lostlorn Forest for now. That was all there was to see. Though we're going to come back here when we get Waterfall. So I guess, yeah, we're done with this area, so we're going to move over to Route 5, which I'm going to cover in the next video because I'm just about out of time. There are still a few things that I wanted to talk about, such as Zoroark and a certain other new Pokemon that can be found from this point in the game in the Shaking Grass, but that's going to have to wait until next time. So until then, have a nice day!